What are you doing in my swamp?
Hello everybody, this is Overboy, and I'm going to be doing my review for the 1991 movie Hook. So this movie follows a man named Peter Banning, who we find out used to be Peter Pan. He's an adult version, and he's become a workaholic dad that never really has time for his family, and he ends up his kids end up getting kidnapped by Captain Hook and taken to Neverland. And so Tinkerbell comes and takes him to Neverland, and he must learn how to be a kid again so he can face off against Hook and save his kids. This is a movie I watched all the time as a kid. It was one of my favorite movies growing up and everything. I grew up with a lot of Robin Williams movies, and this was one of the first ones I ever remember watching. It wasn't the very first. I'm pretty sure the first one was Jumanji, but this movie, it was a lot of fun back then. I watched it over and over and over and everything, and used to never get tired of it. And I don't watch it near as much as an adult. It just doesn't really hold up as well as it used to. It's not really a bad movie though. I do still enjoy watching it every once in a while, but it's not one that I want to watch as often. And everything. Robin Williams though was great in here, and I love like how we get to see Peter going from being the uptight workaholic to being Peter Pan and stuff, and like acting like a kid again and stuff with the Lost Boys. I thought that was kind of cool, and the cast in here is pretty good. They got some pretty big names in here. Aside from Robin Williams, you got Maggie Smith playing Wendy, like a old version of Wendy, and she's really good. And Dustin Hoffman as Captain Hook, I think is okay. I actually don't think he's as good as Captain Hook as most people do and everything. I just don't find him intimidating and stuff like other versions of Captain Hook, and part of it is probably because I have a bias towards Jason Isaacs. Ever since I saw that Peter Pan movie, whenever I think of Captain Hook, he's always the first Captain Hook that pops into my head. But Dustin Hoffman was good enough for this version. Bob Hoskins plays Mr. Smee, and he's pretty good. I did like him in this movie quite a bit. Although I wish he would have had more to do, because he doesn't really do a lot in here. But the one casting that I didn't really like very much is Tinkerbell. Julia Roberts is a great actress. She's one of my favorite actresses and everything, but I just don't like this version of Tinkerbell. I don't know so much that it's really her, or if it's just the character of Tinkerbell. I've never been a big fan of the character. I don't hate Tinkerbell or anything, just she's not one of my favorite characters, and she's really annoying in this movie to me and everything. And and Julia Roberts just plays her as this really bubbly fairy that gets really annoying and stuff, and even as a kid I thought she was annoying, and now that I'm an adult, she just gets on my nerves a lot more. Maybe it's just the grumpiness in me, but I just don't like Tinkerbell near as much in this movie. I don't mind her so much in other ones, but this version, she just gets on my nerves really bad. But there are a lot of fun moments in this movie, especially the food fight scene. This movie and Max Keeble's Big Move, when I was a kid, I was always anticipating that we would have a big food fight at school. Every single day I would go to school ready for a food fight and stuff. It never happened though. One thing I wish I could go back in time and maybe start one. That would have been a lot of fun. And this movie was filmed on sound stages and stuff instead of on locations and stuff, and I heard that Spielberg really regretted doing it this way, and I can understand why. The sound stages they're not bad or anything. The movie would have felt more epic and bigger and better if they would have been able to film it in other places and stuff like that. But Um, I will say though that like the special effects when Peter is flying are really good. They hold up really well, and the sound stages and stuff aren't as bad if you watch it on VHS. But like when you watch it on DVD or Blu-ray, you can really notice that they're just inside a studio. It doesn't. It kind of just takes away from the epic feel that you're supposed to have when you're in Neverland. Um, but uh, but yeah, that part just it's really noticeable. But when I watched it on VHS tonight on my VHS copy for the first time in a really long time, because I have it on both VHS and DVD, but I hadn't watched the VHS in years, and it wasn't as noticeable and as bad on the VHS for some reason. So I guess now I can finally somewhat understand how why people like VHSs more, because a lot of people say that like movies, sometimes some movies are better on VHS, and I think Hook is one of those movies. But this was a pretty good movie, and like the costumes and stuff in here are really good, and like the makeup on the pirates are pretty cool, and everything. It works really good. Although a lot of this movie just feels like it's one big play instead of like a regular movie because of being on the sound stages. I still say that they did a good job with the costumes and stuff, though. And I like the little storyline with Peter and Jack. I thought that was pretty good. I do kind of wish that it would have done more with the daughter too, though, because most of the stuff they focus on Peter and Jack's relationship and everything. And I know Spielberg kind of did that because of the stuff with his. A lot of this was inspired by stuff he dealt with as a kid with his dad and stuff. And that's another thing. A lot of people that don't like this movie say this is one of the ones that's overly sentimental, and this one I actually get it on. It is really a sentimental movie, and you can really see that part of Spielberg's filmmaking in this movie and everything. So most of the time it doesn't really bother me. It don't really bother me that bad in this one, but I can see why it would bother some people, I guess. But the pacing in this movie is really slow. That's another reason I don't like rewatching it as much as I did as a kid. I'm not as invested into it as I used to be. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm an adult and it just feels like the magic and stuff is gone from this movie. I don't know if that's what it is or why I just don't enjoy this one near as much. It's not one of my most favorite Robin Williams movies anymore either. When I watch his stuff and everything, I'll watch it and everything, but it's usually, if I'm just going to pick one out and stuff, there's tons of other ones I would pick over this one. And same with Spielberg. It's never been one of my most favorite Spielberg movies, but it's not like my least favorite either. It's maybe somewhere in the middle. I will say that I do like John Williams' score, but that's not really anything surprising. His scores are always really good, and it's one of the highlights of the movie. And everything. He just did a really good job with the music in this movie, although I'm trying not to compare it to the 2003 Peter Pan, but I will say that the score in that one was even better, but this one works too. Both scores are really good, and I like this movie does kind of feel like a sequel. Like if I watched the 2003 version and then watched this one, they kind of go together and stuff, and it makes sense. And there are some pretty good action scenes. The big final fight with him and Hook is pretty good, and Rufio's death used to be really emotional to me as a kid. As an adult, it's not near as effective, but it's still. As a kid, I was like shook and stuff because Captain Hook actually killed one of the kids. And I gotta give Steven Spielberg props for that, because none of the other adaptations they've shown Captain Hook do bad things, but they've never shown him like that. actually killing a kid. So I gotta give him props for doing something a little different and ballsy there. But and also I think it's cool that like Michael Myers freaking helped write this movie. The guy that plays him in the original Halloween, Nick Castle, helped write this movie and everything, and he was originally going to direct it. And just knowing that is like, wow, I really kind of wonder what his version would have looked like, if it would have been darker, or how that would have turned out. Now I do kind of wish that Steven Spielberg would have just done a traditional Peter Pan movie, where it was just based on the traditional play, but at the same time I'm glad he didn't, because he gave us an original story with the character. So both ways, either way, I think it was a win. And all in all, I do enjoy this movie. It's just not one that holds up near as well to me as it does to most people. I know most people who grew up with this movie still love it, and a lot of people who were adults when this movie came out hated it. And I've never gotten the hate and everything. Maybe it is because I was a kid and stuff when this came, or when I saw it. I wasn't born yet when this came out, but I watched it a lot as a kid, so maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much, and I still can find enjoyment in it. Yeah, and a lot of adults just didn't like it and everything. It's just one of those movies that maybe you had to grow up with it to really respect it and love it. But I'd say I'd give Hook a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good movie, and it's worth watching every now and then, but it's just not one that I want to revisit as often as I used to. I don't think it's a bad movie or anything at all. It is a really good movie and everything. It just isn't one of my favorites anymore. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of Hook, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day, everybody.